Fiancée wanted a big wedding her parents couldn't afford, so she secretly emptied all my savings without permission, and when I found out, she claimed it was for both of us, leaving me broken and wondering if I could ever trust her. I never thought I'd be this totally caught off guard by someone I trusted absolutely, not in a million years. My name is Camden, 23, and I'm originally from Portland, but grew up in a small town near Eugene, Oregon, with my mom, Sandra, 51, and my older sister, Lila, 27. Dad left when I was 9, so money was always tight, but my mom worked 2 jobs and barely managed to scrape us by. I met Maren, 22, shortly after finishing my first year at college. She was bouncy. She had this zany energy that demanded attention, the kind of girl who could light up a room by walking into it. I met her at a friend's backyard barbecue in 2022. Her parents, I quickly learned, were super old school, straight-laced kinds of people, and to be fair, quite penniless. She'd explain what her perfect wedding would be like in terms of a fairy tale, and I liked the idea of being able to make her happy, but I was being a little guarded because she'd idealize everything that was outside of my price range. I'd grown up with bills, with car repairs that needed to be postponed, with paycheck-to-paycheck living, so I knew that money was something concrete. And yet, when she said she wanted a large wedding, I smiled and said we'd make it happen, thinking I'd save up, perhaps stretch myself a little. I worked full-time at a small technology firm, trying to scrounge up enough for rent, car payments, and, hopefully, a wedding that wouldn't embarrass her in front of her relatives. But I did not know, not until too late, that she didn't just want a wedding. She wanted a spectacle, a show, a thing which her parents couldn't even buy for themselves, and she had a plan. One Friday evening, I came back to my flat from a particularly long shift. My roommate Theo, age 24, was already reclining on the couch, scrolling through his phone, and he froze dead in his tracks when I walked in. "Cam, did you know Maren withdrew your savings?" he breathed, nearly. My stomach flipped. My savings? That account had been my safety net, everything I'd been saving since getting a job at 18. I laughed unconvincingly, assuming he was joking. "What are you talking about?" I asked him. Then he produced the bank statement. All of it. Every penny I'd earned in the past 5 years, gone. Taken in one quiet withdrawal, sent somewhere I didn't know. My heart started racing. I felt as if the ground had been knocked out from under my feet. My hands shook, my head spun. I called Maren immediately. She picked up on the 3rd ring. Her voice was even, nearly ridiculously even, like nothing had happened. "Hi, Cam, what's going on?" she said. My voice cracked before I could stop it. "Maren, my savings. Where is my savings? Everything is gone." And she paused, the sort of pause where you know something is going to hit you. "Oh, that," she said in a breezy tone. "I transferred it. It's for the wedding. Both of us," I thought. We were doing it together. My stomach churned. For the wedding? Without me? Without even asking? I could hear her laughing on the phone. "It's for us," she said once more, reciting. I hung up before I could go on, pacing around my tiny living room, my mind spinning. How could she possibly think that this was okay? How was she so certain that to take all that I'd fought for, my money, my freedom, was justifiable because she needed to squeeze into a pretty dress? I remembered that night well. The hum of the fridge, the stale smell of the takeout that I had not cleaned out the night before, the ache in my shoulder from having hauled boxes at work the previous week. And I realized grudgingly that this was the first time ever that I felt the person I loved could betray me, not only emotionally but practically, financially, life-alteringly. I called her again. I tried to talk sense to her. I tried to reassure myself that I was being reactive, that maybe I was being histrionic. But all the reasons she gave circulated back to one idea. It was for us both. For both of us. Like that made sense. And suddenly I remembered the little things, the way she made me choose pricey meals, designer clothes, little gifts I could hardly afford. The subtle pushes that never actually felt like pushes until now. All of it explained itself, the worst possible way. That evening, I went to my mom's, anticipating advice for being grounded. Sandra sat silently while I offloaded the whole story. Her lips were pursed, her face pinched. "Cam, you must think very carefully," she said finally. "People can dream, but to take from you. That's not dreams. That's about control." My other sister, Lila, just shook her head. "You have to take care of yourself," she said. "You're young, you've earned it, don't let someone rewrite what you've created." I was numb. Betrayed, yes, but confused as well. I loved Maren, I still do. But now every memory, every laugh, every moment that we'd spent together had a cloud on it. Could I trust her? Could I ever? I didn't sleep that night. I could only visualize Maren walking into some banquet, see a perfect wedding she'd cost my future out, and I was shaking. The anger was there, yes, but underneath that, a churning hurt, an appalling sorrow that I'd so completely misjudged her. And the worst part? I had no clue how to go back to her. Requesting a refund of my money would be acknowledging that I had been blind, that I'd trusted someone who'd manipulated me, and even saying it under my breath caught in my throat. I couldn't help but keep imagining exchanges in my head, what I'd say, how she'd respond. Would she cry? Would she justify it? Would she laugh in my face, believing I was being overdramatic again? My friends told me to leave her. Some told me even to head to the police station, but things were complicated in reality. I wanted the wedding. I wanted her, but I wanted to be free again too. And those two could not coexist. I stalked her for weeks on social media, seeing her upload pictures of the wedding dress she'd chosen with my money, smiling before the camera, unaware of the storm that she'd brewed inside me. I was a specter in my own life, passing down familiar roads, hearing familiar sounds, but nothing was just real anymore. And then, one night, I was sitting by myself in my apartment, staring at the zero bank account on my computer screen, and realized that this wasn't about money. It was about respect, about trust, about the very core of a relationship. And for the first time, I questioned whether or not I even knew her. Maren had built a life for us in her mind, and she dropped me into it without asking. That night, the tears came, the ones that exhaust you and leave you hollow, the ones that make your body shrink, weaken, become fragile than it has any right to be. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I could do nothing but sit there trying to understand how someone I loved so much could ignore me so thoroughly. And among all the confusion, pain, rage, I understood something hurtful and inevitable. If I ever hoped to trust again, I had to confront this head on, not flee, not turn a blind eye to it, not forgive blindly. Confront it, learn it, shield myself. But even as I did that vow in secret, deep in myself, a small, horrid corner of me grumbled that it would never be the same again. Maren had changed the rules, and I had been forced to play at a game I did not wish to play, and I wasn't even certain whether I wished to or not. I awoke the morning after to an uneasy stillness. I hadn't been on my phone all night, couldn't bear it, but the moment I glanced at the screen came alive with alerts. Maren's name at the top, messages that made my chest tighten. "Cam, just let me talk," one read. One read, "I didn't hurt you on purpose. You'll understand. It's for us." I gazed at them, this mix of anger and shock. How could I have thought that helping myself to my savings without even asking was for us? I tried to catch my breath, counted to 10, 20, 50. No good. I did dial her at last, shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. Her voice on the line, soothing, gentle, imploring. "Cam, I know you're angry. I cut her off. Angry? Maren, you stole everything I've worked for. Everything. How dare you say that, us?" Sighed, this big melodramatic sigh, as if I were unreasonable. "Cam, please. I just wanted our wedding to be perfect. My parents can't pay for it. You know that. I thought you'd see it." I could feel her trying to rationalize, trying to frame it as some kind of great sacrifice, but all I heard was manipulation. "Understand?" I spat, trembling with fury. "Understand? You destroyed my entire savings and you refer to that as love?" She hesitated for a second, then included the worst part. "I didn't want you to worry. I wanted to provide for it. And I thought that's what it was like to grow up. Like my mom, Sandra, working every shift available to keep us afloat and never letting us get to make a choice, never having a say. Only now, I was the adult, and it was occurring to me by someone I loved. I hung up the phone, out of breath, my gut churning, my head pounding. I wandered around my apartment, looking at the walls, the bookshelves, the little baubles I'd collected all these years, and feeling like none of it belonged to me any longer. It was all tainted. I didn't see Maren for days. I couldn't. I made my roommate Theo take care of any messages that might come my way. He was patient, reserved, watching me twirl and keeping quiet, just letting me rant when I had to rant. My mom called to come down to reassure me. I didn't answer at first. When I finally did, she asked what I needed. I told her I didn't know, that my world had been turned, and that anything I'd ever toiled for was not mine anymore, and that someone I love with every fiber of my heart could just wipe away my effort without asking. Her voice cracked. "Cam, I'm sorry. I can't make her decisions for you. But I can remind you of who you are. You're tough. You're smart. You've fought for your life the honest way." "Don't let her do that again," Lila called too. She was furious, and I could hear her pacing on the phone, yelling into it as if the whole city could hear her. "Cam, you have to tone it down. Don't let her play you. You've been working your ass off since you were a teenager. She doesn't get to just take that." I tried to breathe around her screaming, tried to draw in her words, but it didn't soften the betrayal. I relived the small things that had been warnings in retrospect. Maren glancing at my bank app, joking that I was too stingy with money, how she laughed at my obsessiveness about saving. I dismissed them, naturally, loved her, trusted her. And now all had been reversed. Some week on, I'd agreed to meet her in a small cafe in town. I needed answers, closure, something real. She arrived, hair messy, eyes sad, and sat facing me with this rehearsed poise. I could see her waiting for me to crack, to accept her version. "Cam, I really did it for us," she said, almost pleading. "I just wanted to make our wedding day special. I didn't want to hurt you." I took a deep breath, trying my best not to lose my cool. "Do you hear yourself?" I asked. "Do you know that you stole everything that I worked for? You didn't even ask me. You just assumed I'd be okay with you stealing from me." Her face fell, the first flash of real guilt, maybe, crossing her eyes. I did what I thought was right," she whispered. "I thought you'd like it, that you'd see it as us together." My hands were shaking. "Like it? Maren, I feel violated. I feel like you don't even know me as a person who can make her own decisions. How am I ever going to be able to trust you again?" She didn't say anything at first. She just gazed down, tying her hands together. I stood there, grasping this mixture of grief and rage and heartbreak, all balled up. I needed to flee. I needed to yell. I needed to throw something in the cafe, but I didn't go anywhere. I wanted her to see me, really see me, for the first time since everything started. "You've ruined everything," I said finally, voice barely above a whisper. "I can't just make it go away. I don't know if I can ever trust you again." Her eyes met mine, full of tears, but nothing was said, and in that silence I understood that love wasn't enough. It wasn't. It hadn't kept me from being betrayed. It hadn't kept my life savings, my future, my sense of security intact. All it had done was make the cut deeper. I walked out of that cafe with a hollow feeling, city sounds crashing into me like a brick wall. I called my mom along the way home. She answered the phone the instant she heard it ring because she knew something was amiss with me. "Cam, are you okay?" she snapped. I wished I could howl at her, at everyone, at the world. "I'm not," I snapped back, and that was the truth. For the weeks to come, I found myself unable to focus on work, on saving again, on my own life. But whenever I tried to shut my eyes, I could see her face, her calm voice explaining what she had done, the smile she wore thinking that it was all for us. I could not help but wonder, how can you love you and hurt you this badly at the same time? The more I considered it, the more I knew that it wasn't about the money. Undefined, it was about respect, about independence, about the fact that I deserved to have my life be my own. Works-cited, and that was a pain more than an empty bank account could ever be. Lines. Yet I hadn't planned what I was going to do next. I didn't know how I could forgive her, if I could ever view her the same way again. Undefined. All I knew was that my own reality had been changed, and everything seemed like quicksand now. Undefined. And that terror, that doubt, gnawed at me every minute. A numb ache that I carried with me wherever I went. I began noticing little things about my life that I'd taken for granted. The freedom to make my own choices, the safety of my own bank account, the ability to plan without being blindsided. And it was gone. Stolen for the sake of love, for the sake of us. That was the thing that ran in my head every night, distorting my dreams into scenarios where she told me so, and I stood before her eternally, screaming, crying, begging, blaming. I lay awake at all hours, exhausted, hollow, wondering if I'd ever be strong enough to begin anew, or if I'd ever love anybody as much again. Weeks passed, and I tried to put myself back together, but the cracks were everywhere. I'd be walking down the street one day, see a couple holding hands, and my chest would tighten. I'd scroll through my phone and see Maren's posts about the wedding she was planning on with my money and feel this mix of anger, grief, and incredulity. I started telling everything to Theo more and more, pacing up and down our little apartment late at night, spilling it all out, my throat raw, shaking. "I don't know what to do with this," I told him one night, twisting the hem of my hoodie around my fingers. I loved her, man. I do still, but how do I trust her again? How do I let someone into my life after this? Theo simply nodded silently, letting me rant, unwind. I remembered things about our relationship that I'd skimmed over. The way she'd order the most expensive things in restaurants. The way she'd guiltily pressure me when I wouldn't spend money. The way she'd downplay the importance of money while secretly scheming this monstrous betrayal. I was amazed at not having seen it coming, angry with myself for trusting her so quickly. One evening, I finally agreed to see Maren once more, begrudgingly. I was looking for answers, not forgiveness. I went to pick her up from a quiet river park where we used to walk and talk for hours. She was there ahead of time, fiddling with her bracelet, wide eyes, a little defensive but also hopeful. "Cam," she breathed. "I know I hurt you. I know I made you angry. She paused. I didn't let her go on. "Just what?" I growled, my voice rougher than I intended it to be. "Just thought that was the right thing. You just thought it was okay to just take everything I've spent my entire life building. Do you realize what that feels like?" Her eyes fell. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear I assumed." "You assumed?" I interrupted, shaking. "You assumed for me? That you got to choose for me what is best for us without even consulting me?" That is not love, Marin. That is control. She shrank away, as if I'd struck her, and a pang of guilt hit me seconds afterward. But it was diluted by a deeper jolt of betrayal. We strolled silently for a while by the river, past the joggers and the dogs, and I kept rehearsing her justifying it, saying it was for us, the words echoing in my head. I knew that I was starting to understand something painful. It wasn't just about the money. It was about respect, trust, boundaries. I didn't know whether she understood, or even whether she minded not. I told her I needed time, that I couldn't brush this under the mat. She nodded slowly, tears shining, and breathed, "I thought we were a team." That stayed with me. A team does not steal from each other life's savings. A team does not take single-handed control of shared visions. A group negotiates, compromises, sets limits. I told her all of this, my own voice softening with frustration and exhaustion. I need to feel like I matter, Marin. Not like a bank account, not like something that's convenient for your fairy tale wedding. I need to feel like my life belongs to me. She did not respond immediately, just brushed at her eyes, her face small and lost. I wanted to be sorry, wanted to believe she was really sorry, but every instinct screamed warning. Then I began to see a counselor, attempting to decipher my emotions. It was strange to me to speak to someone outside of my family, outside of Theo. Someone who didn't have something riding on my life. I learned that betrayal cuts more when it is from the person you love, and lost trust isn't as quickly regained. I started writing again, writing down every thought, every fear, everything flashing back to Marin's gentle smile as she justified what she had done. I had flashbacks constantly, the quiet apartment at night, the notice in my hand with zero balance, the fear, the calls, the stillness. Every memory made me question myself, my judgment, my ability to love. And yet, there remained a part of me that yearned for her, that remembered the start, the laughter, the late-night conversations, the way she had made me feel the world was mine. That part of me scared me the most because that meant I wasn't even close to being healed. I started to notice patterns in my own life, the ways that I'd adapted. I noticed that I had dismissed red flags, convinced myself love overrode bad judgment, passion enabled manipulation. I knew now that love wasn't sufficient to survive something like this. One night, Marin called. I sat there, staring at my phone forever, it seemed. I finally answered. "Cam, can we talk?" she asked. My hold on the phone hardened. "I don't know if we can," I said. "I don't know if I can ever trust you." Her voice began to break. "I just want to make it right." I laughed, a hard, hollow sound. "Make it right? You think you can make the fact that my entire sense of security, my money, my future, was just gone?" I could hear her swallow, hear her eyes well up, hear her try to find the words that wouldn't hurt me anymore. And I knew in that moment that she couldn't make it better. Not really. She could say sorry, cry, take herself off, but she could never turn back what she had done. I brooded for days over that phone call, replaying it in my head, wondering if I was being unfair to him, if I was leaping to conclusions, if love would be strong enough to withstand this type of betrayal. And every time the answer was the same. Trust isn't so much having faith someone won't hurt you, it's having faith they have enough respect for your life not to take it from you. I began going cold to Marin, gradually, painfully. I put work first, saved again, rebuilt my bank account, but more importantly, myself. It was exhausting. I started doubting other relationships, other friendships, even my intuition. I knew that betrayal, especially from someone you love, changes the way you see the world. And amidst all of that, a small piece of me still ached for her, still yearned for what we had before the holdup, before the lie. That part of me was small, silent, fragile. It had to be hidden. I recalled what my mother said to me. "You're strong, Cam. Don't let her redefine you." I clung to that. I clung to my sovereignty, to my right of choice, to my right to be equally treated in a relationship. And even when I'd experienced the ache of shattered trust, even when I mourned for the US that never had a chance, I knew I couldn't go back. Not without boundaries, not without proof that she could treat me whole. It was a slow process, and agonizing, and isolating. But for the first time after the betrayal, I felt a small sense of control, like I might actually live through this, even if love seemed like something that was going to be impossible at the moment. I started making small plans for myself, celebrating small victories, reminding myself that my life belonged to me again, and that no one, not even the man I loved, could take it from me unless I let them. And in that tentative reclaiming of my life, I learned something essential. Trust broken is not just repaired, and love without respect is nothing. Months went by and life settled into a new routine, but not the one I dreamed of. I continued to save again, bit by bit rebuilding what Marin had taken from me. But most importantly, I was rebuilding myself. I ignored her calls, blocked her on social media, and stopped searching for updates on the wedding. It hurt less over time, but my chest still hurt a little bit, a reminder that someone I cared about had hurt me in the most intimate manner. I worked myself to exhaustion, took on extra work, and even started tutoring high school students part-time, just to keep the void out of my mind. Theo noticed the difference, the way I became quieter, more reserved, but also sharper, more thoughtful. "You're learning, man," he'd said to me one night, shooting me a cold soda as we sat on the fire escape. "It sucks, but you're coming out stronger." I nodded, not able to talk because every sentence felt too heavy. And the worst of it, witnessing Maren in public for the first time following the betrayal. I hadn't anticipated it. She was at a mutual friend's party downtown. I felt my stomach churn, old love and lingering anger combined. She saw me too and stopped, and suddenly all the memories, good and bad, came rushing back. I wanted to say something, anything, to make sense of it all, but I didn't. Instead, I just walked past her, trying to stifle the fluttering of feelings she still somehow had the power to evoke. That night, I pondered it all. The love, the betrayal, the lost savings, the deceptions, and the sparks of hope that I had clung to. I knew that forgiveness was not something due her, nor something I could manage in a rush. I had to forgive myself first, for blindly trusting, for failing to notice the small warning signs, for allowing someone else to dictate my life without my decision. I wrote it all down in my diary, every thought, every heartbreak ache, every lesson learned. I cried again, full out, without apology, knowing that heartbreak wasn't a weakness, but rather a humanness. Gradually with time, I started to date casually, tentatively, conscious of the walls I needed to build, yet slowly letting people in. The lost trust was harder to regain than any savings account, but with each small gesture of integrity from a stranger, I got a small spark of hope. One evening, as I took my stroll through the city park, I thought of Maren, not with bitterness, not with longing, but with a gentle awareness that some people are never meant to be in your life. That is not to say that you hate them. That is not to say that you erase the memories, but it is to say that you protect yourself. I came to understand that love is not sacrifice on another's loss, and that happiness cannot be built upon betrayal, although smiles are hidden and vows are sworn. I began constructing a future in my own way, guided by the lessons learned from pain. I came to understand now that to be solitary wasn't to be lonely. It was the chance to reclaim my life, my money, my dignity. I bore the lessons with me, wore them silently like armor. I didn't need to be revengeful, didn't need to ever see her again, because my life was moving forward and she had no hold on me any longer. Sometimes, I'd catch myself grinning at small things. The first cup of coffee in the morning, the sunlight reflecting off my apartment window, the sound of friends' laughter, and notice that I could be happy again, that there was room for happiness in life after such a deep betrayal. One afternoon, I sat and wrote a letter to Maren. I didn't send it. It was not meant to chastise her, or to beg, or to reopen wounds. It was meant to free me. I wrote, "I forgive you, not because what you did was okay, but because I am not going to let your choices continue to dictate my life. I am taking back my power, my trust, and my future. You'll be a part of my tale forever, but never the writer." Folding the letter in half, I felt lighter than I had in months, the burden of anger and sorrow just enough lifted so I could gasp. The world didn't change, Maren didn't change, but I did. And that was all that mattered. I knew that life would always be risky, trust, love, commitment, but that I could approach it with my eyes open now, wiser, guarded, but still willing to let someone in who did respect me. Hurting from betrayal never did fully disappear, but no longer dictated my life. Undefined, I had rebuilt my life piece by piece, decision by decision. I was no longer a victim of another person's choices, no longer controlled by what was lost to me. And for the first time since everything began, I felt that I could really breathe again, knowing that my life belonged to me, my choices mattered, and that I could love again, tentatively, thoughtfully, and on my own terms.